I've been working at Henderson and Cross Consulting for 6 years now. 6 years of late nights, demanding clients, and slowly climbing the ladder from junior analyst to senior consultant. I've trained maybe a dozen new hires in that time. Show them the ropes, answer their questions for a few weeks, then watch them fly off to their own desks, their own projects, their own careers. That's how it always works. Except with Daniel. Daniel started 3 months ago, fresh MBA, sharp as hell, asked all the right questions, the kind of guy who takes notes in a leather notebook instead of on his laptop because he says it helps him remember better. Dark, curly hair that's always slightly messy no matter how much he tries to tame it. These warm brown eyes that crinkle at the corners when he smiles. And he smiles a lot, which is rare in our industry. Most people lose that within the first month. His training period was supposed to be 3 weeks. Standard protocol. I'd show him our systems, introduce him to key clients, walk him through a few projects, and then he'd be on his own. But something happened during those 3 weeks. Something I didn't expect and definitely didn't plan for. It started simply enough. He'd shadow me to meetings, sit beside me while I worked through financial models, ask thoughtful questions that showed he was really paying attention. But somewhere in week 2, I noticed he started bringing me coffee in the mornings. Not just any coffee. My exact order from the place 2 blocks away that I sometimes mention craving but rarely have time to walk to. Grande Americano with an extra shot and just a splash of oat milk. He remembered. Then there were the lunches. Our office has a pretty intense culture. Most people eat at their desks, barely looking up from their screens. But Daniel would appear at my desk around 1 o'clock with this hopeful expression and ask if I wanted to grab something to eat. And I'd say yes. Every single time I'd say yes. We'd walk to this little Vietnamese place nearby, and we'd talk about everything except work. His family in Oregon, my obsession with vintage watches, his terrible apartment with the radiator that clangs all night, my attempts at learning guitar that never quite stick. Week 3 ended. His training was officially complete. HR sent the email confirming he'd passed all his initial benchmarks and was ready for independent project assignment. I forwarded it to him with a simple congratulations. I figured that would be it. We'd become colleagues who occasionally grabbed lunch, maybe friends, eventually. I tried not to examine too closely why the thought of that felt like something deflating in my chest. But Monday morning of week 4, there he was, standing by my desk with 2 coffees and that smile. "Morning," he said, like nothing had changed. "Ready for another day?" I looked at him confused. "Don't you have onboarding meetings with the new project team?" He shrugged. "Those aren't until 10. Thought I'd see what you're working on." And he just stayed, pulled up a chair beside my desk, opened his laptop, and started working. When I had to review a contract, he read through it with me, catching a clause I'd almost missed. When I got pulled into an unexpected call with a difficult client, he sat there taking notes, then afterward summarized the key points so clearly that I used his notes for my follow-up email. This became our routine. Every morning, coffee. Every afternoon, lunch. Every project, he was there, not quite shadowing anymore, but not quite separate either, working alongside me, anticipating what I needed before I asked, making everything somehow easier and also infinitely more complicated. Because here's what I haven't said yet. Here's the part that keeps me up at night, staring at my ceiling, trying to logic my way through feelings that don't respond to logic. I'm falling for him. Or maybe I've already fallen. Maybe I fell somewhere around day 8 when he laughed at one of my terrible jokes and his whole face lit up like I'd said the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Maybe it was day 12 when we worked until midnight on a pitch deck and he fell asleep on my office couch, and I sat there for 20 minutes just watching him breathe, feeling something tender and terrifying unfold in my chest. I'm 32 years old. I've dated. I've had relationships. I know what attraction feels like. But this is different. This is waking up and immediately wondering what color shirt he'll wear today. This is feeling my heart rate pick up when I see his name on an incoming email. This is the way my whole body seems to relax when he's near, like some part of me I didn't know was tense finally gets permission to rest. Week 6 rolled around. Then week 7. Our colleagues started noticing, started making comments. Jenkins from accounting asked if Daniel was my assistant now. Maria from HR pulled me aside and gently reminded me that Daniel should probably be getting more diverse experience, working with other team members, building relationships across the company. She was right. I knew she was right, but I didn't do anything about it. Because here's the thing I was terrified to admit, even to myself. I didn't think this was one-sided, the way Daniel looked at me sometimes when he thought I wasn't paying attention, the way he'd find excuses to lean close when we were reviewing something on screen, his shoulder brushing mine, the way he laughed at my jokes, even the ones that absolutely weren't funny, the way he remembered everything, not just my coffee order but the name of my sister's cat, the fact that I hate cilantro, that I'm weird about odd numbers, that I always tap my pen 3 times before starting something important, but I couldn't be sure, and the risk of being wrong felt catastrophic. This wasn't just about potential rejection. This was my career, his career, office dynamics and HR policies, and the very real possibility of making everything awkward and terrible if I misread the situation. So I did nothing. Just let him keep showing up at my desk every morning, keep joining me for lunch, keep staying late when I stayed late, working in comfortable silence broken only by keyboard clicks and the occasional question. Keep existing in this strange liminal space between professional and personal, between colleagues and something I was too afraid to name. Week 8. We were working on a major presentation for a potential client. High stakes, big money, the kind of pitch that could make or break careers. We'd been at it for 12 hours straight, fueled by cold pizza and increasingly terrible coffee from the office machine. It was past 11 at night. The office was empty except for us and the cleaning crew. I was losing focus, rubbing my eyes, making stupid mistakes in the spreadsheet I was building. Daniel reached over and gently moved my hands away from the keyboard. "Take a break," he said softly. "You're exhausted. We have to finish this." "We will, but not if you're too tired to think straight." He stood up, stretched. "Come on, walk with me." We ended up on the roof. Our building has this rooftop terrace that almost nobody uses, probably because there's nothing up there except some sad patio furniture and a view of other office buildings. But at night, with the city lights spread out around us, it felt almost peaceful. We stood at the railing, not quite touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of him beside me. The October air was cool, carrying the smell of rain that hadn't fallen yet. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said, not looking at me, his eyes on the skyline. My heart started pounding. "Sure." "Why do you let me hang around so much? My training ended 7 weeks ago. You could have passed me off to someone else. Should have, probably, but you didn't." I didn't know what to say, couldn't figure out how to explain it without revealing too much. So I went with partial truth. "You're good at what you do. You make the work easier, better." He finally turned to look at me, those brown eyes searching my face for something. "Is that all?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy with possibility and danger. This was it, the moment where I could play it safe, laugh it off, keep everything professional and appropriate and distant. Or I could tell the truth, risk everything, be brave in a way I'd never quite managed before. "No," I heard myself say, "that's not all." Daniel's expression shifted, something vulnerable and hopeful crossing his face. What else? I took a breath, let it out, jumped. I look forward to seeing you every morning. I find excuses to stay late because I know you'll stay too. I think about you when I'm not at work. I stopped, fear catching up to my courage. I'm probably saying too much. You're not. His voice was quiet but certain. You're really not. He moved closer, just half a step, but it felt monumental. Do you want to know why I keep asking to shadow you? Why I haven't taken any of the hints from HR about branching out? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Because I'm completely gone for you. Have been since week 1, if I'm being honest. Maybe since the interview when you asked me that question about ethical decision-making and actually listened to my answer like it mattered, like I mattered. He laughed, but it sounded nervous. I know I should probably be more professional about this. I know there are policies and appropriate workplace boundaries, but I can't seem to care about any of that when I'm around you. I stared at him. This brilliant, beautiful man who'd been showing up at my desk every morning for 2 months, who'd been trying to tell me something I was too scared to hear. You're serious. Completely. He reached out, hesitated, then let his hand rest on my arm. Even through my shirt sleeve, I could feel the warmth of his touch. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me you feel it too. I feel it too, I said, and saying it out loud felt like breaking the surface after being underwater too long. God, I feel it too. I just didn't want to assume. So we're both idiots, Daniel said, and he was smiling now, that full, bright smile that made my chest ache. Seems like it. What do we do now? Good question. The sensible answer would be to step back, talk to HR, figure out the proper protocols for navigating a workplace relationship. Make sure everything was above board and appropriate, but standing there on that roof with the city lights around us and Daniel's hand still on my arm, I didn't feel particularly sensible. Now, I said, reaching up to cup his face, feeling the slight scratch of stubble against my palm, I do what I've wanted to do for about 6 weeks. I kissed him, soft at first, tentative, still half afraid I was reading this wrong. But then he made this small sound and kissed me back, his hands coming up to my shoulders, pulling me closer, and it was like everything clicked into place, like every moment of the past 2 months had been leading here, to this roof, this night, this perfect collision of want and relief and rightness. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against mine. So, he said, slightly breathless, that happened. I laughed, couldn't help it. Yeah, that happened. Should we talk about the work thing, the policies and procedures and all that? Probably. I kissed him again, quick and sweet. Tomorrow. We'll talk to HR tomorrow, make sure everything's handled properly, but tonight... I trailed off, not quite sure how to finish that sentence. Tonight we're just 2 people who really like each other, Daniel supplied. Yeah, that. We went back downstairs eventually. Finished the presentation in half the time it should have taken, because we kept getting distracted, stealing kisses between slides, grinning at each other like teenagers. It was unprofessional and irresponsible and absolutely perfect. The next morning, we did talk to HR, disclosed the relationship, filled out the appropriate forms, made sure everything was documented and above board. Maria gave us this knowing smile and said she'd suspected for weeks. Apparently, we'd been less subtle than we thought. They moved Daniel to a different team, reporting to someone else, which was probably for the best anyway. He needed to develop his own professional identity, not just exist in my shadow. But we still have coffee every morning, still have lunch most days, still end up staying late together more often than not, though now it's at one of our apartments instead of the office. His place usually, because he finally got the landlord to fix that clanging radiator, and also because I love the way he's decorated it. All these plants and warm lighting and actual art on the walls instead of the bare white expanse I've got going on. That was 3 months ago. 3 months of figuring out how to be colleagues and also partners. 3 months of learning each other outside of spreadsheets and client meetings. 3 months of discovering that the connection we built over coffee runs and late-night work sessions translates perfectly into real life. Maybe even better. He's here now, actually, asleep in my bed because we finally made it to my place for once. I'm sitting in my living room at 2 in the morning, unable to sleep, thinking about how strange life is, how you can spend years moving through routines, thinking you know what you want, who you are, and then someone shows up with your coffee order memorized and everything shifts. His training ended 3 weeks in, but he's still here, still showing up every day, still making everything better just by existing in my orbit, and I'm still falling deeper every day into something that started as a simple mentorship and became the most important relationship of my life. Tomorrow I'll make him breakfast, probably burn the eggs because I'm terrible at cooking, but he'll eat them anyway and tell me they're great. We'll head into the office separately because we're trying to maintain some professional boundaries, but I'll see him in the hallway or the break room or across the conference table in some meeting, and our eyes will meet, and I'll remember the roof, the kiss, the moment everything changed. I used to think the best part of my job was closing a big deal or nailing a difficult presentation. Now I know better. The best part is watching Daniel walk toward my desk every morning with 2 coffees and that smile. The best part is knowing that when he asked to shadow me all those weeks ago, he wasn't just learning the job, he was choosing me, choosing us. Every single day he keeps choosing us, and I keep choosing him right back. His training ended 3 weeks in. But this, whatever this is between us, this is just beginning, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Total_char_count 16,847.